Mm, mm. Dark. Just waiting on Cotton. I'm gonna put up some of her work. We'll wait. There she comes. We're already live.
All right, what's up? How are you? I'm
Man,
sorry I'm late.
it's okay. You're rocking it.
Oh
Up.
my goodness. I have the kids, so
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. How the
I've been
kids doing?
busy.
Hey,
Doing
we're
good.
live. We're already live, by the way.
All
We're already
right.
live.
Hello, everybody.
You want
It's
to
a
set that?
crazy hair day over here.
Is it a crazy hair day? That's why mine's
Yeah.
up. Yeah. No, your hair looks good. It goes with that
Thank you.
that tapestry behind you.
Oh,
That
that's
look.
my daughter's.
Oh, it
She
is. It's cool.
she
Yeah.
likes it too. So this one I didn't do, but
No.
I do like that one.
Yeah. Is that like a swirl or is it just a
Yes. I
circle?
like it.
Yeah.
I've been printing some of my own on a size like this,
Uh huh.
but I picked
Yeah.
her room for today. Just it's more quiet, so
Yeah. So they're doing okay. You guys are doing all right.
yes, we're
Very
all
cool.
good.
Yeah. Let's just jump right into it. I just woke up from a nap. I'm like,
We can
I don't
make it
know.
short if you're
No, no, no,
tired.
no, no, no,
We all
no.
had
It's
a
good.
long day too.
Huh? Y'all did?
We've all had crazy, like the past couple days have been like fast paced,
I
crazy.
know. Yeah, I know. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting worn down. I know we've been doing a lot of shows though, but I really, in particular, wanted to jump into it with you because of the way you see everything. You know,
Okay.
I mean, like the way you see things is, I don't know. It's like it's the sacred geometry and the colors and I don't know all that stuff you do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think it's like a sense of interpretation of
yeah,
like what you're feeling. And for me, writing was, helping that thought process.
yeah,
Uh, Everyone's different. I get like the weirdest thoughts that come with visions. And then I'll hear something in a group or somewhere that kind of confirms what I was thinking that was still left like with certain questions on completing those thoughts.
yeah,
Kind of like one example was beer, wine, and liquor. I heard somebody say how the three are alcohol, but the three are processed and made differently. They affect everyone differently. So how could you see that in retrospect with how life changes us, how we distill or process information,
wow.
if that
And
makes
there's
sense.
well, it does make sense. And then there's different beers with
Hmm.
different alcohol content, different taste, different composition, different liquors, and different wines.
Yes. And again, it comes with the whole fruit, the tree, the plant,
Yeah,
the grain, as far as the bread, the way they say something about the yeast, how it
yeah,
rises or it ferments
yeah,
and turns into sugar, which turns into oxygen, or, you know, it's a balance of taking a negative and making it a positive.
yeah. True.
Hmm.
Wow, that's a brilliant observation. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
that the way you see things. I remember when we talked before and we've messaged before, and then looking at your stuff. I mean, yeah, it's like you know, it is to me like thoughts. Like
Yeah.
your work is like thoughts. It's like
It's
just
association. And I was learning a little bit of astrology and numerology, and I was seeing how that also is incorporated by my feelings or my tendencies of being a double Libra. I want to understand to be able to find that balance. So
yeah,
my tendency will always be more towards understanding. And in a way, we have to kind of complete ourselves with the things that we lack instead of thinking we're not enough
yeah,
and assuming that that's who we are. Understand that those tendencies of our past or experiences are to lead you to the next step that you need to complete something,
yeah, yeah.
for your own
Yeah,
distilled process.
yeah, aged, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I like that too. Like in that place you come from where you think you're incomplete, so you're seeking this or that, but we're actually all that stuff is what our composite is, and
Mm-hmm.
what we seek and what comes is what's completing us instead of
Yeah.
completes us.
Or
Yeah,
like thinking of being a baby, and a baby at 3 months, it's in its third cycle. So it's creating different things. We want to hurry up and jump to the ninth cycle where
yeah,
we're done. But it's unknown. We have to just understand that you're going to get what you need when you need it and not so much force it. So,
that's a good one too. I'm glad I just woke up because I'm still half in dimension. So
mm,
if you take that one and a baby's 9-month term, which is
mm-hmm,
let's just say 9 dimensions, and we're
mm-hmm.
in the third dimension. Everybody wants to get to the ninth dimension
Yes.
and slingshot. And how do we know that when we get to that spot, we don't pop out of the womb like a baby and get slapped on the ass and then we're in that mode of what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah. Well, we could get lost in any dimension of thought too. It's almost like our mind is a house or a tent, a temporary housing of our spirit and soul and essence and vibe. It's not just one, it's all of, it's all of these elements that have to kind of, they desire to feel aligned and complete to, keep moving on to the next step. But if you tell a baby, you're going to walk by the time you're 1, usually average, that doesn't mean that if, this child or, toddler doesn't practice desire, kick, and move, it's not going to walk by 1. So we can't just sit down and say, okay, so by this time it should happen. It takes that practice to get there.
Yeah.
Or desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a limitation that is anyway. That's the you're going to walk by 1, but what if you don't? And what if you do? Then you're burdened with being a genius.
Well, or then they're going to say that you're overdeveloping too quickly and you're not supposed to. I mean, we can never put our fate or our tendencies on someone else. We're supposed to over compensate where we need to balance ourselves, but that changes in every season of our life,
so you really see you don't really see completion. You really see more just a constant circular motion.
I think it's more of my tendency since I was a child, based on how I used to think back then. That part that hasn't left me or hasn't changed, because it's probably a part of me, or the way I think has always been that way in that degree, is that I crave understanding, kind of like a puzzle. I want to put it together. Yeah. But I don't do it by force. Once I lose my interest, it's not that I'm not interested anymore. It just means I've lost my focus for that time. It led me to something else, and that's okay. I'll usually come right back to it when I'm ready. So just no force. I've been seeing a lot of lives on and off, and it's so interesting to see how we all have the same similar questions about love, about money, about children. We have all the same type of questions in our own kind of way.
Yeah.
We all want the same things, whether you're going to agree. It's never going to be exact, but it's similar.
Yeah. And you made reference to the last couple of days. Did you feel a lot of? I know you're very sensitive. Did you feel a lot of energy? Have you been feeling a lot of energy since the
I
first
have
reading?
been. I have been, but it's in a different way. It's more with synchronicity.
Yeah.
And sometimes almost like a real fast-paced kind of energy. Like you have nonstop calls, nonstop people who are popping in that they need something from you. And sometimes you feel like you can't, and sometimes you feel like you should. You just, with no force, kind of just keep going with that flow. But you do have to set aside time for yourself in that honoring your space.
Yeah.
Because we get a little lost in trying to please everybody, and we can't.
Yeah.
We should. That's different.
Then you end up right back on that hamster in the 3D wheel.
In a sense.
Yeah.
But
no,
you
right.
grow up every day a little bit more. You learn
throw up or grow up?
grow into.
Yeah, I know.
Grow out of.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, you don't strike me like a lot of the conversations I have, and you're right. Everybody is asking the same questions. It's brilliant. But you don't strike me as being the same. It's like the way you see things is different, and I don't see you like getting really caught up in what's coming and blood moon.
I think that's more my tendency.
Yeah.
Because of the 9 vibe. As far as I was learning and the double Libra, I was listening to something on astrology who was speaking about Aquarius, which is actually my ex. Great energy, but his type of sense of humor is a tendency to be more in a different kind of sarcasm, in a realm of sarcasm that doesn't it's not as compatible with my type of humor. So there's just things that sometimes we don't understand, but it doesn't mean that it's a positive or a negative. It's just a part of something. It's their life cycle, their way of thinking. We just influence ours, and we try to understand theirs, but it doesn't mean you're going to.
Yeah. Almost like on the puzzle itself, it's like 3 or 4 pieces away or something.
Yes.
But the puzzle's in motion, like concentric circles. I mean, everything still touches each other.
Yes.
At one time or another.
I always used to think Aquarius was a water sign, and I found out it was an air sign. So I'm an air sign. I'm a double air sign by having the Libra and the sun and the moon, giving me more of that extra tendency to want to be up in the air thinking in that sense. Thought.
Yeah. And as another example too, I mean, I know last time we talked, you work with kids sometimes, special needs kids, and you speak to them or relate to them or communicate with them or instruct them, I guess, or guide them with a language is it nonverbal? How would you describe it?
You could pick up on it when a child looks at you and has this certain tendency to either apologize a lot or look down a lot. They're almost scared that you're going to see their fears if they have had negative experiences more than positive. And I'll tend to want to, have that child speak more of the things that they like without shame or having to defend why. Sometimes it's like your place value in growing up. I was the middle child, so I had that feeling like I was compared to the eldest and the youngest. So that experience alone is like gonna affect a person in their tendencies, whether it's to lead, follow, or stay neutral for a while. Our experiences affect us in a sense like having a cut and you have a Band-Aid on this cut and someone goes to, you know, grab your arm, you tend to like pull away right away. Even after you're healed, if you babysit that wound, you're going to subconsciously think you have that there. It's the same scenario with the elephant and the chain. We tend to, you know, think that something has an attachment to us. And we just, sometimes we don't want to deal with it yet because we're not ready to face it. And that will eventually have its cycle when you have to kind of face it to, you know, grow out of your own shoes. So
in relation to these children and what you were talking about as an example, you're pulling out or pulling them out or expanding them within themselves and their comfort of being able to say, this is what I like. They don't have to explain it. They just say, this is what I like, you know, and then that I can see how energetically that builds the person and to help them when the time comes to look at the chain or the scar.
I noticed children that had the vibration of one, let's say, that leadership. I almost felt it before I even asked them what their birthday was, you know, just, you know, to find out how old they are, when's your birthday. I don't get into the numerology thing with kids, but I do teach them about that with nature, with cycles. So they understand, you know, hey, if I'm going through something, this might not be who I am. This is just something I have to kind of learn. It's like no pressure's on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the season will change.
Yeah. But it is a tendency that I've put to the test for so many years that it has helped me understand this vibe of years. Now it's like a subconscious thing. When I see something really big happened in history, I tend to look at the year and when it happened. And I'll find like this weird pattern of it having either an 11 or like a really high energy. Like last year was an 11. It was a high energy. And now I believe it's a 3. So it's like creation. Usually you have to create something before you start to fund it or like the foundation.
Yeah.
That comes after you already have a rough draft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the cycles come in a way for a reason for just like the baby, you know, you shouldn't be walking until you're ready. And nobody could tell you when until you feel it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you still doing the art, and are you still? Well, I know you are. I mean, are you? Is it? What's going on with that whole connection you have? Because I know it's galactic, right? I mean,
for me, I always felt it was a connection, and I did notice something the past couple of days. Sorry, I was having a call beep in. I don't know if you hear it. I've been waking up in the middle of the night. It's almost like something is waking me up. I'm not sure what it is, if it's something going on that I need to pay attention to. It's just, you know, a lot of life changes and stuff that are settling in. And I'll go outside, just kind of look up. It's so different in the middle of the night when nobody's around. It's so quiet. You go to sleep. I go back to sleep and I tend to fall into this like really vivid dreaming. But I will remember it clearly when it's the next day. If I wake up in the middle of the night or if I get like kind of like taken out of sleep instead of just having a complete rest. It's more sensitive for some reason. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like there's a noted, more than a noted change. You know, you can just walk outside and at times, and it's just like, wow, you can see the change. It's everywhere.
Yep. And also if it's almost like that saying, if you watch a movie and you go to sleep, you might have a dream that has something to do with a similar feeling of you seeing and stuff like that. It's something similar to that. Like getting woken up for me, it's like when you're sleep deprived, you fall into a different type of sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Man.
how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just going through, we're fortunate because we're doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been kind of like what you're describing. I mean, we had that portal appear above us, I think it was 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, right
Mm-hmm.
above the place we're staying. We took pictures of it, we posted it. But
Yeah.
at the time, so what was happening? We were going to watch a movie, right? And damn, I can't remember what movie it was. I think it was Interstellar. And we had
Mm-hmm.
already seen
Oh,
Interstellar,
sweet.
and we had some things happening to us. So here we are in this little cozy den,
Mm-hmm.
knowing we needed to watch Interstellar. We're
Mm-hmm.
looking through the window across the way here, because there's a few houses here, and there was these screen doors in a place that we had stayed in for 5 or 6 days. Right, the wind's the same, everything's the same, and these screen doors are opening and closing by themselves. Right, they're just
Mm-hmm.
opening and closing. So I'm watching Interstellar. We're watching these doors open and close. We keep getting doors, doors, doors. And then we walk outside, and I look up and I said, Morgan, what the hell is that? And it
Mm-hmm.
was this door,
Mm-hmm.
portal door. It looked like a door, and it had
Yeah.
this depth to it. You know how you do your stuff and you like make those 3D
Yes.
kind of things?
Yeah.
Okay, so it had these levels to it.
Okay.
The moon was off to the south.
Okay.
It was all these clouds, and you could see the moonlight where it was kind of behind the clouds, and you could see where it would allow the light to be shown. But this thing had a light on the other side of it, like on
Mm-hmm.
top of it,
Yeah.
beaming down one side. And if you look at the pictures, you can see the light being cast from the object itself. And
Wow.
it was there for hours. It was
Yeah.
clouds would go in front of it, and you would still see it. It was like the dark color or mass of the object was actually superseding the cloud and color of the clouds below it.
Yes.
And
And
so,
those are things that if I see something like similar to that, I want to try to write it down before I forget.
yeah,
So all my sketches tend to come from seeing like an outline of something.
yeah,
And sometimes if you focus into it, you will see more.
yeah,
But if you just kind of like look away, you could remember what you saw, but if you're not comfortable enough to be in that space, you wouldn't have been able to catch all those details.
yeah,
And they do mean something.
yeah.
Because
And the
we're
thing,
not just human having
exactly,
that human experience. We have to document,
yeah,
not in a have to kind of way, but it makes us feel complete to not ignore
yeah,
our
yeah.
questions.
Well, and it's like the thing you said about sleeping and going into the deep sleep deprived type of sleep, and then getting up and pulled from sleep,
Yes.
or watching a movie and then having these dreams that are correlating with the movie, and that's what we were sitting there, because we were going to look at it and come back in, sit down, be watching the movie, watching these screen doors inexplicably go open and close, like somebody was actually opening and closing them individually. And
Okay.
then and we were kind of like taking that in, and we were like, okay, why is everything doors? Why is everything we're seeing doors?
Yeah.
And then we
Or
walk outside.
or before you enter any place,
Yeah,
you might see this type of door.
yeah,
And sometimes we tend to see it in a physical kind of way, and that's why I think we get so many visions
yeah,
with pictures, because we are so symbolically attached to
yeah,
understanding patterns,
yeah,
whether it's through number, color, sound, words,
yeah,
or any way, shape, or form you want to think of it. We crave understanding,
yeah,
and our
yeah,
spirit wants to help us with that. It's almost like reading the Bible for me is not a religious thing. It's a trying to understand and compare the ancient writings from Mesopotamia, from Egypt, from Rome, from all languages, all times, and try to see this weird pattern
Yeah.
That is what is speaking to me. It's not the memorization of, how people are interpreting it, but like making my own feel. And I keep seeing how these key words like just kind of like stand out like a pause in a sentence.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like seek and understand and wholeheartedly, in the mist, things like that. When I hear in the mist of the garden, he put, the tree of life. I think of mist as like a cloud. I think of middle, center, where things usually begin or originate from. When he speaks of 4 rivers or 4 heads, I think of what, I see pictures that are relating to what it sounds like. And I have to pick which picture feels more accurate towards the story or sentence or what, this was trying to relate or project or reflect.
Yeah.
And I see something like a pomegranate, how it has this like, not division, but an arrangement of how the seeds are growing when you cut it in half.
Yeah.
See how they're like collected in like a pattern. I keep seeing a Y shape, and then it grows up and then it divides. Grows up and then it divides. It grows up and it, it just, there's something about that pattern. That I see.
Yeah, I like that. I like that example of the sacred text, because what I'm getting is like you're looking for it's a non. I know that you're pointing out some words. It's really behind the words. It's more like this pattern behind the words. The surface of it is somebody's explanation, and maybe somebody's explanation with some type of ulterior motive. Propaganda or whatever. I mean, but there's these basic things in there, like seen from the eyes and written from the soul, that are patterned in all of it. I like that one about the mist.
If I ever left a book and I would want someone to read it or to leave it to my family, if I just misinterpret, or if the person who's reading this book misinterprets just one word in a sentence, it could change its meaning completely. An example, mist. How would you know what type of mist we were speaking of? Being born again. Jesus, I remember in this one scripture, was speaking of being born again, not physically, but of water. And there was water above and below. So when I read things like that, it makes me wonder what order was shaping.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And it's too, and two, it's like even the words themselves, even if we're talking to each other, even the change in the tone, you're talking about the sarcasm of your ex.
Oh, it popped out.
I'm back.
Okay. There you are. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm overloading the computer. I'm gonna have to reboot it again after this show.
Okay.
But, I was just saying that because like when I first met you and you were sending me your art and I was like exploring your stuff, it was such a non-verbal kind of thing. And I know you're a writer, but even the writing that you do is like what you're talking about now. It's like explaining, it's like relaying in the imagery, and the patterns and the wavelengths, and it's kind of like your art too. I won't put up one here. It's kind of like your art too. It's like you do something like this, and you'll show me like this paper that you fold all up and you make 3D.
Look, let me see if I can flip the camera over real quick.
Here, I can make it bigger.
See, I just did that one, and when I saw what you showed me, that one I did like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and I did this one like a week ago. It's very simple. It's more of a sketch that I convert into a piece of work, especially if it speaks to someone. But I see a similarity, but in the one that I just did right now here, I see them sideways compared to the one that you're showing.
Yeah. And do these things come to you while you're consciously awake or in dream state or both?
I would call that during awake time.
Yeah.
It's I have bins full. Like this was just the shadow of this here
Uh-huh.
from after I did a quick little sketch. And I just go over it for some reason from what I see, and then I just continue.
Yeah.
But I don't mind sharing. These are how I channel my thoughts: earth,
Yeah.
fire, air, energy. It's just like scrap thinking in a
Yeah.
sense. Um,
And do you receive messages ever with these things, or is that the same thing that you're saying?
I do, and I'll write it down real quick. Like,
Yeah.
let me see here. Maybe there's a shadow right here. This one says, "Has heaven changed as earth changes?" Sometimes I'll hear something, and then all of a sudden that pops the question from nowhere. Time.
Has heaven changed as earth changes?
Yes, because we're
Wow.
so focused on earth and its changes.
Yeah.
Have we ever even asked? Because heaven it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when I say God, I feel as source, just to put
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's love. I'm not,
Yeah.
there's some details that we don't need to
Yeah.
know the specifics because we'll get lost into that. Like this one, I was wondering time. I keep focusing on time. There's something about 3,000 years ago. I'll see where I was coming with this. And then it says 6,000 years ago. I guess.
3981.
And then 9,000
9,000.
years ago.
6981.
And then
What is
this
that?
is 12,000 years ago.
9981.
So I'll see patterns like this, this 981
Yeah.
and 3981. And then, I'm trying to see what changes has taken place that have been documented by our ancestors.
Yeah.
It's left for those who want to understand time in what it's worth.
What do you get from this one here? Like what is it saying or telling?
It's almost like a boomerang, but there's two together.
Okay.
One going one way, one going the other.
Oh,
And
I see. In the middle.
you just saw it. You see how it just slaps you in the face?
Yeah.
Well, it'll slap me in the face the same way.
So it's
But
like it's like the perfect point where the two boomerangs
yes,
are equal.
and
Yeah.
I have so many of them.
Yeah.
And I don't remember sometimes even doing them. They'll be at night. Sometimes I'm drawn in the dark, but it doesn't feel forced. It feels so like just rhythm, like playing by ear, not necessarily reading notes.
It's almost like drawing music instead of playing it.
Yes.
Something.
Yes.
And they have like this
it's a polarity that I tend to notice too.
And they seem to have like this almost like a spinning Merkabah type of thing, like a spinning ornament or a spinning geometry, to it, like motion to them.
Oh, and I'll connect. I'll even experiment with magnetics and reflection with certain things. I'll make something out of nothing.
What is I'm just curious with your perspective. What does gravity mean to you?
Gravity depends on where you are testing it in that sense. It's something that like kind of bounds you, or not binds you, but keeps you grounded from your own instincts or possibilities. It's almost like the force against the physical form, but not the spiritual form. There's something like olive oil, there's different types of oils. There's seed oil. There's like beer, wine, and liquor. I mean, we are talking about so many things. It depends on what you need it for. But in a sense, this one I see like a door. Something is going through it.
Oh, yeah. That looks like what we saw.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was, look at that on our page when you after the show. It's
I will
amazing.
look.
Yeah, it's mind blowing, man. I mean, it's just like, but yeah, that little line going through it.
Yes.
That isn't what we saw, but that kind of like explains some of it, because the line itself is going through different depths and dimensions.
Well, let's think of a silly, very basic, like example. When you think of animals, there's some that have scales, some that have fur, some that have, I don't know if you call it skin, but it's just, we all have so many different things, but there's an order in that for some reason. And we just wonder, why do we want to why do we need to know these things? We don't need to, but when you want to understand them, it's probably for a reason. And you look into that.
And then you have, that's fascinating. Then you have like the dolphins, which are essentially have all the attributes of a land animal, but they live in the water.
Yes, and their communication, their strength. Yeah. So it's just, I always say connecting the dots, but understanding number, vibes, it does kind of give you a gesture of understanding.
Now that's amazing.
I see motion. I also see like a pillar of measurement.
It's like oscillation. Yeah, like a pillar of measurement, but it's not linear.
It's both. But the linear is not dominating.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it will measure no matter, if you go all around it. But when I get thoughts come in, I go to the closest source that I've been taught, which is, the Bible, but I will read into it in a Hebrew text. I will read into it in my own visual way of understanding. Let me see if I could read this one real quick. It says, earth was without form and void. And I keep hearing those words that were emphasized as far as, and I see a plus sign, or I see I'm not done yet. And darkness was on the face of the earth, or the face of the waters of the deep. When you expressed that your vision, it had this depth to it.
Yeah.
So I believe in a sense, depth was already here.
Yeah.
Void was, all around without form and void. So there was no form and there was no void, or was there just void? See, when you read a question or when you read that first thing in Genesis, it says the earth was without form and void. So you're telling me it was without form and void, or was it just void? Because everyone keeps saying it was empty, dark, nothing but water.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to picture this.
Yeah.
It's just that little bit of information. I'm obviously going to want to understand more.
Yeah, it's like a line of questioning that's non-verbal or non-cognitive. It's like speaking in a different way. Like you could actually pull an answer out of it in a way you couldn't read out of a book. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. Yeah, the way you're that part of your mind that you're engaging. What do you think, if anything, is happening with time?
Time is like space. You can measure it with volume, or you could measure it with distance, or you could measure it with so many different ways. That time to me is an illusion in the sense that the way you remember it didn't necessarily occur like that. Let me flip this over. Like if I were to tell you right now, Todd, what do you remember was one of your first best memories?
Yeah.
What do you remember was one of your first, like, when did you realize that your parents didn't know everything?
Yeah.
It's like, it almost brings you right back there.
Yeah.
So you just time travel in a sense, because you could tap into that time.
True. Yeah.
I think one of your friends said something that stuck to me in a great way. She said something like, when you drive, you don't look back and drive. You just do a quick look back to know where you're at.
Yeah, like a data point.
Yeah, well, like reference. And I heard assimilation, assimilate. Time is almost in a simulation, that you're going so fast through it or it's going through you so fast that you don't even recognize it. You're seeing it in a different way. And you say time is an illusion, which sounds crazy because you're right here, right now. But in the sense that you just, it's gone. Yeah. But it's not forever.
It's
stored.
It's not.
It's not. And it's stored differently in everyone else's brain.
I love
so
this.
It's like a library that is personalized.
Yeah, it's like I remember when I first came out years ago, and I met this guy. He's cool, you know. He was kind of way ahead of me in the sense of even knowing what people talk about today. And I remember him calling me on the phone. I gotta call you on the phone. I gotta activate you. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know. And so he calls me and he says, this is all we have. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the past. What is that? I'm like, well, what was yesterday? He goes, what's gone? If it's gone, it's not here. Yeah. And I always struggled with that yogi kind of guru thing. And I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. Now the past may not have a hold on me, but it's in the way you're talking about it, in the multiple way to measure it of time. So I can look back and like you said, it's like driving down the road, look back in the rear view to see
how fast did it take you to get to that memory.
Yeah. See where you're at. Yeah. And then the whole thing with, you know, like even when you said that, the first thing you said, I remember this distinct occasion, which was a birthday, right? I remember the cake.
Birthday cake lately.
Right? I remember the cake. I remember the flavor of the cake. I remember the way it smelled. And like you said, look, you just time travel.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's another thing we do too, is people talk about astral projection. They talk about, all this other stuff, bilocation and remote view. But the thing is, and then again, you're like, we all have these flashes and we think, oh my God, it didn't last for 25 minutes. It really didn't happen. Where in what you just did a second ago, I did time travel, but if I'm going to measure it on a linear basis in this moment, it's almost like it was nothing. It's not real. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Morgan and I have had a couple of experiences over the last 2-3 days. And they're like, I think, on the linear scale, they're like, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but it seems like hours go by,
Especially like when something traumatic happens, it feels like it's taken forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, why does this feel so much, but like you're having fun and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird thing. There's something else that came to me when I was talking about water and mist and cloud, how water is above and below. Yeah. It's this weird polarity in the pattern of that male and female way of thinking. We want to know why, which is a great question to ask. Why do we have to see things in such a, it doesn't have to be so profound. But if it is, it is, it doesn't have to be explained to someone else for it to be okay. Yeah. So if we are present in our time, then it just flows better.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. And really those moments of looking back for that benchmark or whatever, there's more clarity. And I'm getting this as I'm talking to you, even like with the water above and below. the feminine being the water. Like I go into the ocean here, it feels very maternal. It feels very feminine. It feels, and then if I look up at the sky, you see cloud formation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And the constant movement of it.
Yeah.
And in that formation, we create so many different things, like depending on where our mind is going. And where is it going and why did it go there? Sometimes we didn't choose for it to go there, but PTS, or post-traumatic stress syndrome, it is taking you there automatically, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You didn't realize that something reminded you of this thing, this wound you have that you think you still have a Band-Aid on. You just have to let it heal.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done.
Very cool, man. Very cool seeing the world through your eyes. It's interesting.
Thank you. You're doing great. You really are out there all the time, and you stay in a very positive energy. You're keeping those gates open in a sense. I see the world as, the whole internet connection. And when people connect, if it feels right, they're just listening. You're doing your job. It doesn't matter the views. It doesn't matter if somebody made sense of it or not. But if it made sense to somebody, if it helped somebody, that is worth it. Yeah, and it's for your time and their time.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of this too, is because it's like a different language, like a different way to communicate, and the whole idea is to make each other think and to spark something in the other person, to maybe bring back a memory or bring back a higher, more advanced skill or a memory or whatever the case is.
I think I think we downloaded them from our ancestors too. I was looking at the movie Alpha the other day. I loved it. Because it made me think of my ancestors.
Is that the one with Liam Neeson?
I have no idea the name, but I do know that he, with the wolf and like 20,000 years ago, it takes place.
Oh, I might have to look that one up. I just saw a kind of this guy does like these metaphysical reviews of movies and philosophical examinations. It's an incredible YouTube channel.
Wow, and, that's cool.
I just saw this one he did on that show, and it was a powerful piece. All this stuff is, but I thought, well, I might need to watch that movie. Well, I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure talking.
It talked a little bit about like courage and facing it and things like that.
Yes,
it was awesome.
That's exactly what it was about. Yeah,
and being kind-hearted.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you, or even feeling your energy. Sometimes you just send me stuff out of nowhere, and I'm looking at it going, that. It's like, what is that? I get that, but
it's like a massage to your perception.
Yeah. Like Morgan asked me something. Do you know something? And I told her I know it, and I don't know it. I don't know it, and I know it. There's a part of me that knows it, but there's a part of me, but the human part of me doesn't know it.
Well,
so I know that's right.
Yeah. And that's what you have to, in a sense, listen to. Yeah. It's not having to know it because you already know it.
Yeah.
If you think you have to know something, that means you don't have it.
Yeah, it's like
letting the flow.
Yeah, and that's
like
what
a drum.
I was trying to explain to her today. So like, I just know that when the time comes and I'm in that, in that space, I'll know it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is.
And sometimes that happens to me too, even when I hear my voice in recordings, or if I hear my, see a picture, I won't see where I messed up. And I'll do that with kids too, even my own kids. I'll have them draw something, and then I'll tell them, let me know when they ask me, Mom, what do you think? What does it look like? I'll tell her, oh, it looks great, but take a picture of it and look at it. And she's like, but Mom, why do I need to take a picture of it to look at it? I'm like, just take a picture of what you did and look at it. And then she's like, oh, Mom, I didn't notice I made that mistake on there, or,
that's
interesting.
Funny. That's interesting because, Morgan and I obviously work in are together, and we'll be talking about, we talk all the time, right? And she'll say, you need to go back and watch, because I don't watch the shows after we're doing. You need to go back and watch this show. And or if somebody went back and saw themselves on the show, what would they see in themselves? And just like the Interstellar movie the other night, we had just watched it, but we both said to each other, kind of like, have you ever noticed that the second time you watch a movie, it's the best time you've seen the movie, because you pick up all this other stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what you're saying about that.
Well, they say that our focus is the size of your thumbnail.
Yeah.
Everything else is blurred around it.
Yeah.
So when you're in thought, you probably do the same thing. You zone out in the movie, or you zone out in the middle of a speech, and you just wonder, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You're just documenting and channeling. I think we all channel. We just don't know to do that. But
yeah, absolutely. We can so everyone can still know. They can find you at Ya Art, right? And I think Ya Writings too. Isn't that right?
Yes, YA Writings, YA Art. I got into real estate just to make some extra money, since I'm a single mom with 3 kids and disabled. But I am doing that to fund my dream, my passion. I would love to write a visual dictionary kind of book for anyone who wants to understand the way that things begin with that thought process. So I'm going to be building together a summary of everything that I've been researching for the past couple years, and putting a type of arrangement in that order, from the elements, from the understanding of number, color, the 7 main.
It's probably going to be found in like 5,000 years as some kind of contemporary.
I'll have to put it in stone, so we'll get burned down.
Put it in stone. All right, put it in the ethers.
Yeah, well, it already is. It's just being downloaded from everyone, and we're piecing it together.
There you go. Morgan reminds us we got Sarah Richardson in 2 hours. It's been a really cool day with Allison Engel and Rebecca Williams and Cotton. Yeah, it's been a really cool day. Very, very cool mix, eclectic, electric, creative, imaginative mix of energy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Definitely
Best to you and your
much
kids.
love to everybody. Hi, Morgan. Bye-bye.
Peace out. All right.
Blessed.